Instead of a game, launch more members who can eventually start making profit from their success. I don't think that strat would have worked. I talked about that already, where I don't think that strategy would have worked out for us in the environment the company was in at the time. I think it would have been a nice end goal, and I was like, I would like to eventually do this, but I felt like where we were, it was not possible. And then also because I think that could have worked better early when the company first started, but the company for so long had just been this smaller focused group, kind of like other content groups like OTV and stuff like that. It felt a little more like that, right? And people are brought in like one at a time, etc. It's mostly people that are like a known name or for some reason there's hype around them typically. And then I was like, look, I would love to do the other thing and like have more people, have smaller creators. I really want to, but there were like issues that I was seeing, right? We don't even have booths at cons. We're not even doing merch at cons. We're not even doing this, that, or the other thing. There's certain things that like I got told we don't have budget for. And I was like, I don't think we have the overhead to fund that. So I like wanted it eventually, but I was pushing back in the other direction and being like, we can't do this right now. Like, especially they were talking about like an idol group sort of thing. And I was like, how are we going to fund that when you can't even fund another concert for us? I asked, are we going to do a concert next year? And people were like, oh, it'd be nice. And then as we got closer, I was like, hey, there's been no talk of it. And people were like, oh yeah, I don't think we can fund that. So I was like, so if you can't do that for like the main group, how on earth like, you know, I was like, how on earth are we going to bring in smaller creators where they're not going to make you much money? You have to fund them first and hope it's a long-term investment and have that work out. Like what? Yeah, they were gonna have one larger creator in it. And I was like, that's cool. But like, I don't know. I was just like, I just don't think this is it. Something's not adding up here. And I was worried. I was just really concerned that they would bring people in and those people would be given expectations and then they wouldn't be able to meet it. And those people would end up getting a bad deal because they would be smaller creators that don't make that much to begin with. And now they would have less take home, but they also wouldn't receive all of this financial support that they probably think they would get. So I was like, I think you would do these people a disservice. Like, I was like, I think this is bad, you know? And I was pointing out a lot of the specifics and how that would work. Yeah, Nova hadn't even covered the initial costs yet. Exactly. I was pointing at that and I was like, we've done this. We've seen how this goes. This is how it's worked out so far. I don't think we should do this more until we get that working. Or if we have enough money where we don't need to make a profit on them for a while and we're cool letting it cook. If we were at that point, then I'd be like, let's go all in. But we weren't at that point. So I was like, you know, I was pushing because I just felt like they were going to do wrong by a lot of people. Roster was 20 people. Why would you even need more? That's the other thing. I think the big roster thing just like has fallen out of fashion a little. I don't think it works that well. I don't think we have that large of a collective community that we could have thrown out that many talents, you know, into the public eye and had them all grow really well. I was like, I just don't think this is like working out. Like on paper, I get where the ideas were, but I was like, we don't have any of this set up for this to work. And I was getting real pissed because then eventually they said like who was going to be in the idol group, and one of them was my own friend for a long time. And I was like, I knew her, I knew how she does things, I know how professional she is, and I was like, she's going to get done dirty. And I got mad. I was like, I don't like this. Even the, you know, ones that I didn't even know as well, I was still like pissed for them, you know. I was like, this is not what these people are gonna want here, you know. Like they weren't gonna get real support. So I don't know. It was just really, it was bothering me so much. And then they wouldn't tell us any other names or like who they wanted to maybe join later. They didn't say a word about who, even though I pushed and multiple of us demanded to know, and they wouldn't tell us. And we didn't even care about who it was. We just cared about the fact that they wouldn't tell us. we were just trying to get them to stop doing that, and they wouldn't stop doing that. And we were just like, this is wild. The not saying who's gonna join the group is completely crazy. I can't think of a single reason too. I can't think of a single reason to not tell us. Not one. I don't know. And that's where a lot of us started being like, didn't even give a reason. No. That's the thing. They didn't even give a good reason. Worried you go warn them of impending disaster? Maybe. And that's the thing. I didn't even immediately go rushing to Phoebe and be like, oh my God, something. I was like, if she wants to tell me, she can. I talked to her way later because I was still trying to figure things out and I didn't want to misinform her. I also wasn't sure if she was like fully NDA'd or signed on or whatever. So I wasn't sure what I could and could not tell her yet. So I wasn't going to go talk to somebody and start saying things without knowing I was comfortable legally to say stuff, you know? So it wasn't until I knew 100% what her NDA covered and like if she was signed and all that stuff before I talked to her, you know, about it. But yeah, they gave no reason. They were like, at the first iteration of them telling us they wanted to add like a bunch of people within 2025. They said, we want to do this like small unit idol group. And then after that, we want to add a bunch of people. They didn't say another gen or anything. They're just like a lot of people. And they gave us a number of people. And I was like, with what resources? And immediately I was like, are they large creators? Are they small creators? because that changes things here and like whether I think we can handle this or not, you know? And they were like, well, you'll see. And I was like, I don't know. I got like a coy, haha, hee hee answer. And I was like, okay. And I said, well, why can't I would like to know. And it was just like, we were told, you'll be told more information soon. And I was like, okay, we'll see. Because we had another call lined up for a little bit after that. So I waited for that next call. And then the next call happens. And they show us who's in. And by the way, they only said that next call was set up and that they were going to tell us who's in the idol group at least after we started complaining. Why won't you tell us? I don't know that they actually even had that set up. But we said, we started going, tell us. And they were like, oh, we'll have a meeting next week and we'll talk about whatever. So next week comes, we have the second meeting. And this time they mention the idol group and they tell us who's going to be in it. And they tell us a little more information, but not really much. They're just like, yeah, we're going to do this. They're going to be more music focused. And we were like, okay. And I remember some of us immediately being like, so by being music focused, do you mean they're just going to do music? Or do you mean like you're going to fund this for them? And the TLDR was, it sounded like they were just going to have to do it. They were like, we'll help them with our resources. Our resources means I'll connect you to someone who you can pay to do it. Also, you could have just emailed them yourselves. like there's no difference, right? We'll contact them or you contact them. Either way, they're going to use a third party. We'll go find you someone to produce something. We have access to this studio that we could, have you go work in. But all of them will allow indies in. It's not really an exclusive thing nowadays. So I was like, okay, so they're going to have to fund their and you want to have like one well-known talent and then two that are like pretty small who aren't coming in with an existing huge fan base, and you want them to fund their own concert or their own music or their own everything. I was like, I don't think they can. If they can't do this as indie, then you're just going to have the one who is well-known be basically funding it for all of them if they choose. Or if you take in money from them as a unit and then you put that together into a concert for them as a unit, it's going to be really the responsibility of like the one and their community helping fund it kind of for the other two. And I was like, I think you're just kind of creating a situation where either someone might get upset over that, or let's say everyone's okay with that and they're like, no, we all want to help each other, which I think is good. And I think they are those types of people. I think they are good like that. Either way, it's just really imbalanced. And if it doesn't work out, the two who are smaller get totally left behind. So if you can't support them, right? And I was just sitting there like, and someone else was bringing up how they were looking for certain support on certain things, and they were like, I'm not even happy with how a lot of my own stuff has gone with this, so what, are you going to give them the same, or do we suddenly have better resources and things, or what? And it was just like a lot of non-answers, and that was it. And then I was like, what about the other people? So you mentioned like the idol group. What about you said you wanted to add like a whole bunch of people within the year, and we were all blindsided by like the number. Can we know who those are? Do you have any? I was like, do we even have anyone signed or anything? Like, are they signed? Like, what's the status of that? And I said, seeing as how we're feeling about this first iteration of things here and how we are like worried about your ability to support them, my question was like, if you tell me the names and I'm like, hey, these are all small creators and I think we can't support them, will you change your approach at all? And the answer was kind of like, well, we've already promised some things. They wouldn't even confirm if they were signed or not. They were just like, well, they were already promised things. It might be a bit awkward. And I'm like, so you got this like basically over the finish line and didn't even tell us about any of it and didn't have time to like ask us anything. I was just like, oh my God. And then that was the last we talked about it. We never got to hear about it because that's, by that time I was like complaining about a lot of shit, but we never got to like get to the point where we could talk about that again, really. I was just nicely expressing each time, like, I don't think you can do right by these people. And I'm not comfortable with you bringing new people in until you can do right by like all of us. Otherwise, like, what? I'm going to watch you bring people into a situation where they also are going to have issues and just like be like, oh, that's fine. No, I'm not. Right? Absolutely not. So that's why eventually I was like, I gotta go. I can't. I was worried I was gonna look like an asshole. I was worried things were gonna move along and I was gonna look like I left right before they added in other people, and people were gonna be like, oh, she probably left because she didn't like those people or some stupid shit like that. When really it was more like I didn't want to be responsible for like advertising that this is a good place to be and then having other people like see me there and go, oh, I should join too. She's there. It must be okay. You know what I mean? I was like worried that me continuing to stay signed on looked that way to other people, because people tend to trust, that stuff from me. So I was like, I can't have my name on this, you know?
I can't believe GEEGA left because she hates other people SMH.
Yeah, no, I was genuinely really worried that it was going to look like that. Because if they still had the, you know, bossing say moment where everything was like looking all right from the outside, then especially with how well people took me leaving, they're like, oh, it's just business, you know, whatever. I was worried that it was going to look like I left because of certain people. And I was like, because it was the opposite. It was more like I wanted better for them. In a way, it's how I felt there, but I don't know. So I'm glad that didn't pan out, because I was just sitting here the whole time like thinking this summer was going to be me getting nothing but weird comments about that and beyond. That's like I was like really brandishing my fists, you know, getting ready for it. I was like, this is gonna be annoying. I don't know, man.